Pleasure to follow the Honourable Member for Bamford-Buchan, who I thought very effectively outlined the many complexities inherent in our transition from our dependence on fossil fuels for our energy system. And I think it's a complexity that we need to bear in mind as we discuss this bill brought before us this evening. I'd like to begin, Madam Deputy Speaker, by saying that I welcome many of the measures included in the bill that are designed to provide a cleaner, more affordable and more secure energy system. But in welcoming many of these measures, I would also like to just put on record that I am concerned that more is required to address some of the more short-term issues that we currently face. I need not remind the House, of course, that there's widespread concern that households across the UK are particularly vulnerable to any further increases to the cost of energy, for example. We're told that energy bills might increase by some 17% this year. Now, honourable members will know just as well as I do that many households have struggled last winter. They've had to exhaust their savings. Some have had to take out loans in order to meet the costs of last winter, and are therefore very vulnerable to any further increases that might come next winter. Now, Citizens Advice Cymru has seen a sharp increase in the number of people seeking debt advice, and they report that more people are now falling into arrears on essential household bills. The charity has seen a 150% increase in the number of people seeking advice on debt relating to energy bills between February 2020 and February of this year. This just further underlines the vulnerability of so many of our households and how exposed they are to any further increases to the cost of energy. And before going into some of the longer term measures included in this bill, I think I'd like to impress upon the government that there's still time before next winter to bring forward measures to support some of these vulnerable households and ways of financing the same. It's been, I think, mentioned earlier on. I will, yes.
I thank the honourable member for accepting my intervention. Does he share with me my concerns, and I think they are widespread concerns, about the plight of people who are struggling to pay for energy and are on prepayment meters? And does he share my disappointment that nothing has made it yet onto this bill that will protect people on prepayment meters, particularly from so-called self-disconnection, where when they run out of money, they are automatically cut off from all gas and electricity?
Well, I thank my honourable friend for that intervention and for making that very important point. I think we'd all agree that those customers that are on prepayment meters are among the most vulnerable consumers rather, of energy and electricity in the country, and they should be prioritised as we look to help households with the cost of energy. It's been mentioned earlier on that one way of perhaps financing greater support for households is a new tax on share buybacks. We've read in the news about the £3.2 billion worth announced by Shell last month in that regard. And you do have to question whether that sort of funding could be used to increase support provided under the energy price guarantee in advance of next winter. Another round of alternative fuel payment could also be guaranteed and set at a level which better reflects the increase in the cost of alternative fuels experienced by off-grid households. And in that regard, I'm very grateful, because I know it is something that the government and the Minister is considering, about the additional support for those businesses, energy-intensive businesses that are not connected to the main gas grid. And I think that should be a priority. Now, looking beyond next winter, I think that members will agree that this bill also offers a golden opportunity to step up investment in the energy efficiency of our housing stock. In the long term, reducing our energy demand represents one of the most important contributions to forging a more resilient and sustainable energy system, helping to permanently slash energy bills for both households and businesses alike. Now, I previously called for the £6 billion committed in the autumn statement last year to energy efficiency measures to be brought forward. Some of the spending profile will be brought forward as much as possible. I think the more we can prioritise for investment in energy efficiency, the better. And as chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Fuel Poverty, I'd like to emphasise this point and ask, in doing so, that the government consider setting clearer pathways for improved energy efficiency standards for our housing stock. I think the case for prioritising energy efficiency measures is well made, but in the avoidance of any doubt, the new Economics Foundation estimate that had all homes in England and Wales been upgraded to EPC C by October of last year, the energy price guarantee would have cost some £3.5 billion less during its first 6 months. And a Welsh home installation programme, as set out by the Future Generations Commission in Wales, had estimated that a similar sort of outcome could save the Welsh NHS £4.4 billion by 2040 in improved health outcomes. Now, it's also important that current eco schemes are delivered properly. Between April last year, when Eco4 commenced, and December of last year, approximately 25,000 households received support under the scheme. Now, given that this amounts to less than 6% of the some 450,000 households that Eco4 is supposed to support over its 4-year lifetime, I think we need to be concerned about the pace of the rollout so far. And indeed, constituents and installers alike have contacted me to complain about some of the deficiencies of the scheme, which I believe demand the government's urgent attention. And in particular, consideration needs to be given to, again, to review the eligibility criteria so that more people can benefit from the scheme, but also, importantly, a revision of the scheme's cost assumptions so that they are brought into line with current supply costs. Now, before bringing my remarks to a close, Madam Deputy Speaker, I'd also like to add my support to clauses 272 and 273, which were added to the bill in the other place. The current energy and wider cost of living crisis brings into sharp focus the consequences of failing to transition away from fossil fuels, and action must be taken to accelerate this transition. And in this regard, I believe community energy projects have a crucial role to play. By establishing an export guarantee scheme for smaller scale sites that generate low carbon electricity, and by requiring larger suppliers to work with community schemes, these clauses could unlock the potential of community energy schemes across the United Kingdom, which Campaign Group Power for People estimate could grow by between 12 and 20 times by 2030, powering up to 2.2 million homes. It's an important set of clauses that I very much hope the government will see fit to retain in the bill.